Welcome to my home garage. Today we got part 4 of the 2003-2004 CRV that got the lift kit. We're going to be doing a couple more suspension maintenance upgrades on it. We're going to be doing some rotors, some new headlights, and a couple other bits to get this thing back on the road, including new rear calipers, which are one of them seized up, and brake lines. All right, so let's get at it. All right, so step 1 is we're going to remove ABS clip, the line for the brake line. We're going to remove the toe, the tie rod bolt. We're going to remove the 2 shock bolts, and we are going to remove the upper, and we're going to remove this strut. So we're going to get to that right now. So give me a second. I'm just going to loosen up all the bolts. Okay, so now all the bolts are removed. So here are my strut bolts. They're ready to come out. So we don't want them out yet until we get the tie rod out. So we should actually put this back in. So once we get the tie rod out, hammer this off, get the 3 nuts on the strut at the top out. Then we can remove this and take it down so this whole thing doesn't flop over. So we're going to do that right now. Okay. This is a camber bolt, so we got to remember that the camber on this we want all the way in. Okay. Okay. All right. Got one more clip at the back here. Okay, there, nothing's holding it now. So this thing's ready to come off. There we go.
Careful with that boot, make sure we didn't damage the boot. Boot's good.
Okay. See, sometimes the shaft will pop out. So what you can do is, it won't be here that long. So here's our old damaged strut. It's pretty beat up, so we're gonna take that lift plate off the top and swap it to our new. Here's our new strut, ready to go back in with our top hat back on it. So let's get it back on the car. So with the with the stabilizer link disconnected, it is quite easy to get all this back in. So we just gotta be aware of what we're doing here. All right, so now we can get this off that we had holding everything. Okay, and we will stop. Okay, get our knee under here, get our strut up here, and we're gonna go like so. Okay, I'm gonna lower this down and line this up a bit. We're also going to remove the rotors and replace them because these rotors are pulsated, and we replaced it with new pads, and that didn't solve the complete issue. the brakes were overheated while they were in the States doing a run. So we're gonna swap the rotors over. So this side is completely done. We got the new shock and strut as a KYB assembly in. Brand new brake rotor. We got brand new pads last week. Everything's back together. We're gonna rinse and repeat on the other side, and then we'll come back and do the rest. All right, so both sides are completed. Sway bars connected, tie rod, top mounts are connected on both sides. So we replaced the front pads and rotors. I have a video on CRV stuff already. Front pads and rotors. We did the new KYB strut plus, which is pretty much new KYB strut and shock, spring, top hat, everything. And we reattached it to our spacers that lifted the truck from our previous video. And now we're gonna tackle the back. So we're gonna replace the strut, the hose, the brake hose, the caliper, the rotor, the pads. So right now I'm just gonna go on the inside of the vehicle. If you watch my video when I lifted this vehicle, so there's the 2 bolts to remove it, and I'm gonna switch the top hat to the new strut and install it. Pretty simple, just 1 bolt down there, 2 up here, and I'll remove it. Give me a second. Okay, so you can see is replace the flex line because we had a seized caliper, but yet I was able to push the caliper back. I'm gonna post it right now when I initially checked it. Welcome to my home garage. 2003 CRV. It's got a brake noise. Take a look at that pad. Take a look at the other inside pad. It's got good life in it. Let's take a look at the other side. Almost a full pad. Let's see if this brake pad is seized or not. Do we think the pad is seized? Or what do we think's going on here? Let me take it off and we're gonna check it out. Okay, so the caliper came off quite easy. The pads are not seized inside. Let's check the sliders. The sliders are not seized. Let's check this slider. The slider's not seized. Let's check this. I'm gonna try and depress this piston and we're gonna inspect it. So I was actually able to push the caliper back in, but I have a feeling that something's still wrong with the caliper. We're gonna see if the brakes are dragging after I install new pads, and we're gonna still recommend calipers to the new customer. But everything else is moving nicely. So I'm gonna clean this off and put the... I lifted the vehicle up on the in the rear so that all the weight was on the suspension, and I tightened the bolts that I had loosened. I'm gonna leave the sway bar loose till I do the other side. New calipers in, new pads, new rotors, new flex line, new shock. Everything's tight. Just bleeding the brakes now, and then I'll finish the rest on the other side. We're also replacing the headlights, so it's pretty simple. You just remove the bumper. It's a screw there, and a couple of bolts there, a tab here, this cover here. Same on the other side. And then you can remove everything that holds the headlights. 3, 4, and that's it. Pretty much what I did is I just looked at and right there, look at the new headlight, and then you can pretty much get a good idea of what you need to remove. All right, so this bolt is seized inside here. This is the main reason I'm making the video, because this can be a pain in the ass. I do have a new bolt, but we want to try and save this welded nut on this side so we don't have to cut it off and add a nut. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and loosen it first. Maybe I can get it loosened with the electric gun. If not, possibly cut this whole thing off, loosen it so this spreads out, and then cut both sides, take it out, and then hopefully have enough threads to get this little piece out here so that we can still reuse this nut. So let's give it a shot. So first thing is I'm going to try and hit that. You got the best blade you can possibly get to cut this. Let's see if it'll do the trick. And we got to be careful not to cut anything except for that. So let's go for it. Well, it's going pretty nice, actually. Whoa. Tension, tension. Okay. We are pretty much all the way through. And that's it. So now this is no longer part of that bushing. Because all they do is tack weld the shock tower to a bushing. Now watch what happens when I loosen this. It's going to react differently. Watch this. See? Watch how everything moves. See how it spins? So the benefit of that spinning is we can now air hammer this that way, and that sometimes can hold on. My hammer out here. Okay. If we air hammer this sleeve, sometimes we can loosen up the sleeve because before everything was too compressed, so now we're going to hit it with an air hammer. So because it's spread this way, you want to hit it like this. Look. And that sometimes can loosen things up. So that sleeve inside there is completely seized. So what I can do now is I go a little bit wider and cut it, and that will give me enough thread so that I can unscrew this hole. We don't want to let the thread break it. Okay, now that nut's spinning. So we broke that type of weld on that nut. So I'm going to hold this. I'd like to remove it like this, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Watch, we're going to remove it like this. So we already know that one's loose. And we're going to cut this side. There's our one nut. Get our hammer. Move it over there. Now you cut this side. There it is. All right. I don't even know where it went. There it is. Here is our seized bushing. So pretty much our bolt was seized inside that sleeve. So you can see it's kind of a pain in the ass. The best way is just to cut it off. So now let's go. All right, guys. Let's shout out Bruce at Perfasco for getting us a nut and washer to replace our whatever that is. So let's get to fixing the suspension and finishing the rear brakes. So I actually have a different idea on this side than the other side. Instead of removing the whole shock from inside, it's a pain in the ass. I'm just gonna loosen the nuts here, drop the shock down, and then install the new one. Now let's see if we can get that to work, okay? Let's do that now. All right, guys, as you can see, very easy. There's the two nuts. They're loose up here. I literally just loosened the two nuts, and the shock has lots of room to come out. Keep in mind, this only works with lifted vehicles. So this isn't something you can just do regular. If you want to watch that, watch my original video when I put this thing together. So, this part of the spring faces in. Okay, so as you can see, it's going to go in like so. Alright. So let's see if we can get those nuts to start. And it looks like we'll be able to. There we go. There's the first nut. There's the second nut. Okay, so this is gonna slide in here. So we just gotta kind of. All right, our bolt is in. Let's see if this washer works here without hitting anything. Thanks again to Burfasco for supplying that. Oh, it works perfect. Here's our nut, and problem solved. Okay, but we want to tighten this with the suspension loaded. So we're gonna wait, but we can tighten the top nuts now. As you can see, we can tighten those top nuts now by hand, and then we're done. And then we can do the shock and strut. The pads and rotors. Okay, so the first thing you do when you're gonna replace a caliper, especially, is, and you got to take off this line, is first you got to make sure it's going to crack loose or you're in trouble. So I already made sure it cracks loose. Spray it with penetrating fluid, scrub it, and then blow it off to get rid of any debris, because you don't want any debris getting in your new line. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. So you pretty much want to scrub it, get rid of any debris that's in there. So you want to loosen it, anything that's up. There's a lot of gunk that's stuck in here. Okay? See all this shit in there? So you want to make sure that the threads are clean when they come out. Best you can. Okay? Blow it off. Okay. Shut. Grab your gun. Close your eyes. Pretty much now you're ready to rock. So I already made sure this line's loose. We know this line comes out. Okay. Good, and make sure it doesn't spin with your brake line. So now we know it'll come loose. So we're gonna remove that line completely. But before then, we're gonna get everything ready. We're gonna get our new caliper ready, our new rotor ready, everything ready, and then we're gonna come back. Okay? And I'll show you everything after it's set up. So pretty much we're just going to remove here, remove the rotor, change all that shit out. Okay. All right, guys. So here's brand new rotors, brand new pads, brand new calipers, brand new brake line, flex line. We are just bleeding the caliper out now, gravity bleeding. Once I get the sprung weight, I will tighten that bolt right there for the strut, because you have to tighten them on the vehicle's ride height. So that's the last thing left to do on this car. So this is everything I got here. I did a little undercoating in some spots. So this has been almost a year of this vehicle having the off-road package on it. So all we did was pretty much give it some new struts and new shocks. KYBs, very good quality. So new caliper, new flex line. See, there's still good tension, even though when this thing is like unsprung, like now, everything's kind of all over the place. New rotors, new pads. Gotta take off the sticker. Okay. Same thing in the front. New struts, shocks, new rotors, new pads, new headlights. Look at those. Nice and fresh. New rivets that were broken. Same thing on this side. Undercoated some spots. So now I'm just waiting for the calipers to bleed, and then we're going to take it for a drive.